And it's very hard from where I want to talk about, because you're in a society that pretty much are bad at. You have access to everything you need, but don't know. Excuse me, I should say it the other way. You have access to everything you want, but don't know what you need. And I want to talk to us about living right. Not just abstaining from sin. Say that when we say, not just abstaining from sin, but living right. You know, there's a right way to live, and there is an attack on the right way to live. And it's coming not from the world, but it's coming from within the church. Go to Micah chapter 6, verses 6 through 8. And it's going to be a difficult message because it might not be encouraging, but it's not always my job to encourage you, but it is my job to prepare you to meet Jesus the Christ. When you die, you're going to stand before God. You know, the Bible said it is given unto men once to die and then the judgment. So you've already died. What you have to wait for is now the judgment. Now, what judgment do you have to wait for? The judgment seat of Christ. Come on, help me, three of you. So we have to get to a place where we can stand before God and give an account for the deeds done in our body. And in Micah chapter 6, verses 6 through 8, it says this: "Wherewith shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves, bless you, with health, wealth, prosperity, peace, and a big tissue?" Excuse me, I couldn't resist that. Let me read it one more time. "Wherewith shall I come before the Lord and bow myself before the high God? Shall I come before him with burnt offerings, with calves of a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, or with 10,000s of rivers of oil? Shall I give my firstborn for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul? He has showed thee, O man, what is good, and what does the Lord require of thee? But to do justly, to love mercy, to walk humbly with thy God." We're in a time when, anybody here? If you're here, say I'm here. I'm here. Have you ever heard of denominations? Yes. Many of us were not around when denominations were created, but we're in a cusp, or we're at a place where another group is coming up within the church about to create a denomination, and it's going to be called the Graysons. Everybody is preaching on grace, and it's as if it was back in the days when they were talking about baptism, and the Baptists came out of it. And so we're in a place now where people are teaching so much on grace that it's going to create a denomination within a denomination. So I feel it's my place to help us to understand how not to get caught up in a denominational wave. There's nothing new with grace, you know, but grace appears for sinners, to help sinners not to sin. Grace doesn't come to give you an excuse to be weak. For the grace of our Lord has appeared, teaching us to abstain from fleshly lusts. So you're in, it's a bad term that I'm going to use, you're in a time when they're using grace like they did hippies. Hippies wanted to escape accountability. Believers are not looking to escape the accountability. Believers want to be accountable. You know, and they attack the law. You know, we know that we're not under the law, but when you attack the law, you're going to attack a foundation that taught us right from wrong. You right? Thou shalt not kill. That's a part of the law. So shall we not attack that also? Come on, help me. One of their major attacks is against tithing. Go ahead, attack it. And when your churches don't have money, and all the sinners don't have no place to get saved, then you gotta blame you. You got your money. Now all them souls that went to hell because they had no place to go, it's on you. So when you remove the old landmarks, the people will never be safe. How many ever had a parent? What if your parents said, well, you know what, I want to change the way we do things around here. We're not going to feed you for the first 3 months of your life. And when you grow up, we're not going to teach you right from wrong because, we want to be. I say, you're on the camera. And so can you imagine if your parents told you we're going to change things? I love you and, unconditionally, this is grace now. You can do whatever you want. That child going to die. Grace doesn't tell you to do whatever you want. Grace frees you from the bondage of having to do what you want. Because as long as you're a sinner, you're going to sin. You're going to want to sin. Grace in your life is the only thing to stop you from sinning. And so as we look at today's message, I want you to look at it where you have a responsibility to walk with God. And it says this, he said, oh man, this is what's required of you. Do justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. And so as I began to think about these things, what is one of the most humbling things in the life of a believer is not being able to do what you want. Amen. Come on. Amen. He doesn't make you free to do whatever you want. He makes you free to have sense not to do whatever you want. Come on, help me. 3 of y'all that is not in geriatric class. Go real quick to Romans chapter 10, verse 4, because I really want to look at some scriptures that it's gonna help us that can hear. Not everybody can hear, because most people, they just want to make it. They just think that Jesus came to give you a better life. He came to give you life, and life more abundantly. And when you look at let me say this. You ever heard of the Old Testament and the New Testament? Now, when you're looking at the Old Testament, see, the word testament is what messes you up. Because testament is law. You see, and so the Old Testament books were more than law. You see, the law was the Levitical priesthood. That's where you got, your Sabbath days, and tithing as far as the law is concerned. That's the law. But what about the Psalms and the Proverbs? We got to get rid of those because they encourage us to do things according to the law. See, once that denomination kicks in, you're going to have a whole bunch of hippie Christians. They're going to be just like hippies, free. Hey, God wants me free. Free for what? Jesus came for sin. He didn't came to set you free so you can float around, get you. Come on. And you can tell by the way praise and worship has changed. When you listen to praise and worship in the 80s, it was powerful. It was totally God-centered. There was no entertainment in it. Now it's contemporary Christian music. They sing contemporary Christian music as worship. Come on, help me. 3 of you that speak Swahili. And so there's a danger creeping in because they're getting, anybody ever heard of a cross? They're even removing crosses from churches. Why would you do that? See, because they recognize it's offensive. Oh, it's offensive, isn't it? It's supposed to be offensive. It's a reminder that you belonged up there. So you're going to go into certain churches. You ain't going to find a cross and you're not going to find a message to make you feel bad. But I wasn't born then. I was born when they made you feel bad and you felt bad enough to feel right. Come on, help me. 6 of y'all. This must be a Swahili class. Because you're not understanding the word that's coming out of my mouth. No. Romans chapter 10, verse 4. And this is something that you need to understand. Many of you are preachers. How many of you here are preachers? Whoever didn't put their hand up, you need to put your hand back up because you got a mouth. You're going to preach to somebody. Even when you get to, if you got siblings that are younger, you're going to tell them off. I got to wash dishes. You got to wash dishes. That's called preaching. Why do you think he left you with a mouth? You ever notice you use your mouth more than anything? You ever seen, you ever seen people sleep, talk, talking in their sleep? Using that mouth. Romans chapter 10, verse 4. For Christ is the end of the law to everyone that believes. Now, your camera's on for her. I'm going to challenge you with this verse. For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believes. For the believer that wants to be righteous, they don't follow the law. Christ is the end of the law for righteousness for them that believe. In other words, we don't follow the law to be righteous. And I have a good saying, and I think it bears repeating. We don't follow the law to be righteous, but we do it because it's right. I don't kill you because it's right, but I don't kill you to be righteous. Come on, help me. Help me. So the law is designed for us to learn right living, but we do not do it to be righteous. Come on, help me. You know, it's dietary restrictions and different things. Some of them things are healthy for you, you know. Well, anyhow, but you don't do it to be righteous. You do it because it's right. 6 days you work, 1 day you rest. That's right. Remember the Sabbath to keep it holy. Come on. You don't do it to be righteous. Do it because it's right. It's only right that you rest. I'm trying to help 3 of y'all get out of prison. For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believes. So it's the end of the law for everyone that believes, right? But it also must be that them that don't believe are still under the law. Now, this is what I would say to anyone that's not understanding grace. Grace helps you recognize you're a sinner. For where sin abounds, grace much more abounds. God has concluded all in sin so that grace can come upon all that believe. So you got an issue that you got to deal with. Help me, 3 of you. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to your spirit and your flesh at the same time. So you got an issue that you have to deal with. And you ask yourself, what's that issue? What's this sin he's talking about?
Amen.
See, everybody, you know, all Christians want to be so anti-establishment. You still got an issue with sin. You're still going to make some mistakes. And the only way not to make a mistake is to know it and don't do it. The Apostle Paul said this, and I'm going to help 6 of you that are preaching and 13 of you that are struggling. The Apostle Paul said, I would have never known lust had not God told me I shouldn't covet. See, the law shows you what sin is. The law was given so that they would know that they were sinners. We don't follow the law. We might look in the law to see what's right and what's wrong. Come on, help me, 6 of y'all. So if you try to get rid of the law without being spiritual, you're going to be a hippie. It's true. Where's your guidelines? Well, you know, Lord want us. See, all right, here we go. Pastor Rich, you run out of time. Here we go. I'm just going to preach it like God gave it to me shaven. This is the bottom line. You look in the Old Testament, you see your heroes, and you see your failures. Look in the New Testament, you see your heroes, and you see your failures. What you doing? Are you a hero, or are you a failure? You don't float around. Jesus said either you're with me, or you're against me. He didn't say you're neutral. He said either you're gathering, or you're scattering. So if you're not advancing the kingdom, you're scattering. You don't just go to church. Amen. Church is not a school of religious, it's not a religious educational system. Church is an equipping of the saints for the work of the ministry. But now churches are institutions for religious learning. Amen. Come on. It never was designed to be that. The church is a living organism designed to change the world for the glory of God. And how? By grace. The Apostle Paul said it like this, and you've said this too. I am what I am by the grace of God. And what was he? A wise master builder. See? He wasn't like somebody floating around just worshiping God on my piano and keyboard and Lord, love you. No, he said no. He said we're beasts. I fought with beasts at Ephesus. I was stoned, shipwrecked. He said, but none of these things move me. So you have to be careful, you know, enjoying God doesn't constitute a right relationship. Serving God does. You're not going to be judged based on your worship. You're going to be judged based on your service. Well done. What done you? No, I floated. I said everybody free. We just free. Floated. Well, go on. There's a float section. Go float on. How many are from the 80s? Anybody remember the 80s? Float on. My name is Larry. God forgive me. Flashback. But you see, grace is God's power given to a human being to do a God thing. Not to say God knows my heart. You know, God's going to help me deliver me. No, he has delivered you. I mean, Georgie, can I throw you to your father? Yes, I can. No, Matt, you're stronger than me because I want to strain myself. Come on. Come over here. Come on. Come on, Matt. Yeah, yes, you. Prophet, let him out. Come on, over here, George. You came to church, so you're going to be used. All right. Today, Matt, you're going the long way. You're too big to go the long way. All right. Get him. Come over here. Get him. Pick him up. Pick him up. Pick him up. Pick him up. You setbacks. Pick him up. No. Now, he's darkness. No, not too far. Now, transfer him to the kingdom of light. Throw him. Sorry. You need to work out, Matt. Matt got babies. He got to work out. Poor things. See? He got transferred from the kingdom of darkness to the kingdom of light. You've been delivered. You ain't got to use no grace as some excuse to say as a weak Christian. Use the grace of God to move mountains. Cast out that devil you sleeping with. Talking about God know my heart.